Okay, this is just basically, 'cause as it's my 14th anniversary with the company here tomorrow, it's a bit scary. It was scarier for me than anybody else. And it was also like LateRooms' 15th birthday last month sometimes. Last month was the month before? I can never remember. Yeah, time flies by. Gareth asked me as part of the thing where I visit most teams to kind of finish off, just do a little kind of thing on explaining basically what things were like when I first started and kind of how we kind of progressed through from being a tin pot company to the bigger tin pot company we are now. I've enlisted the help of Dave, who we know likes to talk and has some interesting stories that he can tell from the time Dave started being the third longest serving member of IT after myself and Cash, who hopefully also contributes some stuff.
I think it's interesting for everyone just to get a picture of where we came from as well. There's loads of new faces, and there's even more with Andrea only been here for 4 weeks, only in the office for 2 of them. But I think it's just good that everyone understands where we came from and how we grow.
Mm-hmm. So, we started in an old bank. Obviously not quite that old bank, but it was basically on the corner of Chapel Street. I didn't have a photo until this morning, so if anyone's interested, I will pass around my tablet. Luckily, I'm not Craig. So
steam everywhere. The industrial.
It pretty much was down at the corner of Chapel Street and Trinity Way. Essentially, it was an old bank from a Victorian bank, I believe, and the IT department was on the 3rd floor in one tiny room, probably about half the size of this. There were essentially about that's to scale, but with real size people in it. It was a tiny office. Me and Wasim shared it. For those of you who remember Wasim Aslam, and it felt crowded if a third person came in to talk to us. The other member was the IT director who owned half the company and essentially sat in the hallway between the stairs and that room because there was no room for him in that room. So it was slightly different to how we are now. Obviously, there's massive, expansive floor out there with about 30 people. It was. We worked for Walsh Simmons marketing and something or other. It was essentially a small marketing company which started out basically. They started it from a camper van parked on Deansgate, and a few years later, eventually had a tiny office. That tiny office that's just been passed around. So it was like 4 floors in an old bank, which had I think our office was originally a Victorian Catholic sewing union, which was like just tiny little where Victorian ladies went and sewed clothes for pennies, I assume. LateRooms was on the 2nd floor of that picture. Essentially, it was in a room about this big, employed probably 6 people. Yeah. We sort of ran 4 websites at the time, so LateRooms was just one of them. It was just like a little side venture they'd started, just because someone had the idea of like booking hotels at late notice, essentially. Our server room was. That's not an actual picture, but take the toilet out, and that was pretty much it. My second task when I arrived was we sort of needed to upgrade our server room. It was essentially the storage cupboard behind the downstairs kitchen, and Paul basically, who was the IT director, owned half the company, basically said, here's a hammer and chisel. We need to get some extra network cables and some more power into the server room. So I spent like a morning chiseling bricks out of the back of the wall while he packed. We said, right, left a bit, right a bit, and pulled them through the other way. Our state-of-the-art cooling system was basically you would put a fan in the doorway and open the back door of the building, and that would just hopefully create some kind of fluid. It didn't really work very well, but it was better than nothing. And this was essentially it did what Telford do for us now, but for obviously slightly less money.
And you don't have a toilet in Telford.
Well, no, exactly. The facilities were better. Our equipment was as state-of-the-art as a server room. Every server was basically a reconditioned desktop machine, usually built out of just dusty bits on Paul's desk, which will sit there for about 3 months and eventually become a server. Not a very good server, because it got to the stage where once we started getting a little bit busy, each lunchtime Paul would spend most of the hour kill -9ing MySQL queries to actually stop the server all loading and crashing. Yeah. And I was saying to him, Paul, just buy a new server. And he'd look at me like I'd just like strangled a puppy in front of him, and just say, that would involve spending money, James. I'll just keep killing these processes, and it's going to be fine.
So those processes aren't users, don't we?
No, it's like, I say, well, Paul, it's people. They say, no, that'll be fine. They'll just search again. But we basically made do and
that same mentality now.
pretty much, yeah. but we sort of made do and kind of got on with things. It was like one illustration of how kind of like spendthrift we were was I was making my way back from town one lunchtime, and like I passed a massive builder's skip, and they were like, James, and like looked up, and Paul was inside the skip, and I looked at him and said, Paul, what the frick are you doing? And he said, you can help me carry this, and pulled out this massive coil of like used network cable and threw it down to me. And I said, Paul, what the fuck are you going to do with this? It's covered in mortar and all sorts of crap. He said, that'll be fine once we've scraped that off. I'm going to use it to like connect up with that new server I've been building for the past 3 weeks. It was just, and I just basically walked back with like that in one hand and my head in the other hand. Just, what am I doing working for this company? And I said, as you can see, it kind of upsets me to this day. But basically, what happened with the company was we started out as a subscription site where we employed 4 or 5 people to essentially trawl the internet for hotel phone numbers. And then they would then phone those hotels and say, would you like to subscribe to our site where we'll try and sell some rooms for you? And they paid basically a monthly subscription of about 20 quid to basically be like to essentially kind of advertise through us, but we'd set up the adverts for them. And then they'd have like the hotel phone number on there. So it's like there was no kind of like commission based anything like that. So our kind of like our major kind of step forward was someone had the bright idea of let's take commission. Let's actually phone the bookings through ourselves and take commission for the hotels. So at that point, we basically changed our model slightly, changed the site slightly. Our initial call centre was a phone on Tony Walsh's desk, which would ring every now and again, and whoever was near would pick it up with the instructions of get all the details, write down the credit card number, because obviously PCI wasn't a thing back then. We would then essentially phone the hotel, make the booking with them using the guest's credit card number, and then we'd phone them back to say, right, we booked that for you now.
Wow.
That kind of like that phone initially rang once or twice a day, but was a bit initially but after like about a month or so was basically starting to melt. It was getting so many phone calls to it. So at that point we thought we need a call centre. So we took mine and Wasim's office that was, like I say, less than half the size of this, felt crowded with 3 people, and they basically put 15 call centre desks in there with like the world's tiniest desks, the world's tiniest computers, the world's tiniest headsets, and tried to find the world's tiniest people, and just basically just crammed them in, breaking every fire regulation, everything you could, like every law you could possibly imagine, and we basically just crammed them in, and they basically manfully manned up and like survived sweatshop conditions to answer phones for us, and we basically moved to a nice plush mezzanine on the ground floor, which was quite nice.
Good to know we was MVP back in them days as well.
Exactly. So they basically that was our call centre, which eventually, I know it's a bit of a subject we perhaps shouldn't mention, but when I wrote this, thought this initially, it was still a concern. That eventually grew to a call centre of how big was it at its biggest? Was it 200 people part time, 150, something like that?
200 people.
Yeah.
And when I joined, it was only about 40.
Yes.
30 or 40.
Yeah. So that kind of grew quite rapidly, and
the actual.
Well, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. They had an entire floor originally, the contact centre, when we were there, wasn't they? The entire floor nicely spread out, and everyone else was downstairs in a room that was about twice the size of this, and you had everybody else in it.
Everybody else,
so
marketing.
The MD, propped on the side of the desk. I was on the MD there. I was literally hot desking with a desktop machine every day to try and find somewhere.
When we joined, it was a bit more professional. When you're talking about this is 2002.
This was 2000.
This was
This
pre-internet-y.
was all sorts of.
Hey, well, we're king.
Yeah, we started realising at that point that as well as taking all these phone bookings, there's probably going to be a market people want to do online bookings. So this was like, online bookings. There were people who said, no, it'll never catch on. The online bookings now, no one's going to book online. They're just going to phone us. And so Paul basically came to me one week and said, just write us an online booking scheme. I said, okay, we'll do that. Obviously, I was dressed like this gentleman here. So I sat with the business for about 2 weeks and being agile but not knowing what agile actually was, getting basically feedback from them, saying, do you sort of like this bit? Right, we'll do that bit. Do you like that? And after about 3 weeks, we had a working online booking screen. Like Paul said, oh, that mock-up's great. Now just make it work. And we were like, no, it's fine. It connects to a database and there's all sorts of things. Which was essentially 3 weeks of work, and it was taking bookings because our advanced release process was you basically save the file and put it in the correct directory on the server, and it just worked, which was awesome.
What was this written at the time?
PHP MySQL.
You didn't have a dev test environment, did you?
We didn't have a dev test environment. No, our testing process. So our development files were basically we just renamed them to something vaguely like what the live file was called, and just kind of connect them all together using these slightly changed names. Obviously, kind of like led to all sorts of shenanigans, like people going like saving files with like the wrong file extension and crashing the whole site and then going home, that kind of thing. And,
so when I joined as a PHP developer, I was told about the 4 files that I must not ever change.
Yeah.
These 4 files are going to be sacrosanct. But just on your point, your allocation you and Wasim, we still use the same damn structure today.
Come on.
Allocation.
And that's where all the problems
Room
come.
tables. There's still twin double issues that we still talk about today.
Just sort of like leaping ahead in time slightly, and Cash mentioning when he joined, I'd just like to apologise because I was the person who interviewed Cash. I decided to employ him. We had this kind of like robust process of Cash was friends with Wasim, and Wasim said, well, I can't interview my mate, can I? so it ended up being me and Alex, the other dev who interviewed him. Obviously, Andy knows
by the time I joined.
all about the robust process, not being interviewed by your friend. But
It'd been relaxed when I came. My friend interviewed me quite happily.
Didn't it get sort of halfway through, and
Well, I was
the third of us who were kind of said,
I was interviewed by Leone, obviously, and Hugo. And I thought the interview was going absolutely swimmingly until, about halfway through when Hugo suddenly said, do you two know each other? And I thought, oh, this looks bad.
So,
Fortunately, Leo convinced him that she had totally and utterly told him that I was her mate and I was coming in for an interview, and it was his fault that he'd forgotten. And I'm here.
Now, obviously, this call centre, I'm cramming these poor people into this tiny room and starting to actually take some money in, basically, because we started getting commission in. It basically drove us to essentially move to a bigger office, because it got to the stage where we really thought, do we need a bigger boat here? So we kind of moved from the tiny sewing union bank, and the bank had the old vault, by the way, which was like the old Victorian vault, which had been converted into the world's most secure storage cupboard. It just had stationery in it. You'd expect to put something really valuable in there. And like I said, and this is the vault, and they do this big kind of like this big wheel that you turn and like this big handle, and they'd open it to show you this is the vault, because you'd get like a tour when you go, and they'd open it and it'd just be full of like photocopy of paper. It's like gold bullion or like the Ark of the Covenant. None of that. So we moved from our tiny offices to a slightly larger office down in the Diva Centre, which is just down Trinity Way. You might have noticed audacious ! Church is now in the car park outside it. It's just the one behind there. It has like a... Is the inflatable polar bear still on Trinity Street outside Trinity Way? Is that on Chapel Way? Never mind. It was basically landmarked by, you'd say, we're basically in the car park behind the gigantic inflatable polar bear was it in a sauna or a jacuzzi?
The jacuzzi.
In a jacuzzi. There was some huge jacuzzi place which had this gigantic inflatable polar bear, which they just park outside the main entrance to the things. It obviously looked really professional for us.
We always just it's opposite the Lowry Hotel, and everyone used to go, that's in Salford,
Salford Keys.
And we go, no, the Lowry Hotel, Manchester.
Look for the polar bear.
Polar bear. This was obviously quite a big departure for us, because we then kind of had, the call centre had room to breathe. We now got crammed into this slightly bigger room than Wasim and I were used to, but everybody else was in there as well, and that basically made us look like a proper company. We were still a bit of a tin pot, kind of like Banana Republic type company at the time. Our first thought, because we didn't want to move all the, I was going to say infrastructure, all the servers out of the kitchen cupboard and move them into that kind of like
Another kitchen cupboard.
That unit, yes, essentially a kitchen cupboard there. Gavin, who was, because we started to make some money, so we sort of hired like a kind of infrastructure specialist, Gavin Hamill. If any of you met him, not sure if you met Gavin. Obviously you met Gavin, who was a crazy Irishman who just jury rigged stuff out of all my. So he fit in quite well, to be honest. But his kind of like initial plan, so we didn't need to move the servers, was he was going to try and like put a dish on top of our existing building and try and like wirelessly beam the internet between the two offices. And like, but that was only kind of like stymied by the fact that there was a massive great building in the way. So he was thinking, well, could you knock that building down?
He tried that. He hasn't done that.
We did try it. But I'm not sure we
when they were starting, a van packed outside the office to cut off the internet.
Give you a further indication of Gavin. Gavin used to have remember those CDs, used CDs on his desk. And we once said, what are those, Gavin? He goes, don't worry about them, that's just our disastrous recovery. Alright, Gav.
He just had like dates written on the like websites, like the 19th of June. There you go. So essentially, at that point, that kind of made us start to look attractive to investment, basically, and there was a load of secret things kind of happening. When you sort of notice people behaving slightly differently and like switching the laptop screen off when you come over and like that kind of thing. And I think, oh, that's a bit strange. And then Paul didn't sit with us anymore for a little while. I'm thinking, well, where's he going? And it turns out that they were basically arranging quite a sizable deal to sell the company to some venture capitalists. I've completely forgotten the name, but they were just a bunch of guys who were basically just buy companies.
ZCI or something, wasn't it?
Something like that. Yeah. Yes. And they basically buy companies, they'd invest some money in them, they'd build them up and then sell them on. So we eventually got sold. At which point...
Normally a 5-year plan.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. We kind of thought they had a 5-year plan to not superseded. It sold for, I think it was 20 million, or which...
Do you want to tell the lads how much you profited out of that?
I was offered £1 for my intellectual property rights, which they never actually gave me. It's like, you don't want that £1, do you? And it was like,
so if anyone you know Wasim would always go on about the £1.
Cheers, Dave. Look at that. In fact, I'm going to put that in a frame. Nice. So at that point, basically, we can't. I am actually. That's all I've been waiting for. That's all I've been waiting for all this time. So, like at that point, we basically had something we'd never had before. We had money to actually buy a test machine and buy some servers which were actually servers and not like just old desktop machines, and like not have to scrape like mortar off cables anymore. And we started to look like a proper company. We hired an IT manager, Mike Hewitson. If any of you met Mike, well, obviously, yeah, we did. And he said, I know this guy. He's brilliant. I've worked with him before. I'm going to bring him in. So we said, oh right, great. And then Dave turns up one day, and then Mike explains, you know that guy who said was brilliant. We're going to bring him in. It's not him, it's the other one. It was going to be joining in about 3 months, but I got Dave in as well because he's nearly as brilliant. And we were just sitting there and thought, oh, right, okay. What? Essentially, this opened up a whole new world of .NET tools, which, because we were an open source company, we'd use PHP, we'd use MySQL because it was free, basically, and because we didn't spend money on anything, we thought we'll get the free stuff. Wasim and I were absolutely amazed at how much money was being spent. The fact money was being spent was amazing in itself. Like the SQL Server licenses were they a couple of £100,000?
We didn't move to SQL Server straight away.
That was a little bit.
We moved to
Postgres.
Yeah.
No, but when obviously Dave and Jason came in, the big plan was, we've had the same old site for 5 years. We should redesign, and that was.
It was part of the reinvestment, wasn't it? To try and reinvest.
That was an adventure, James.
That was an adventure, yes. We'll get on to that adventure.
You still had the badger back in those days.
Well, we had the badger. The thing with the badger was we were just phasing out the badger because we kind of realised after we'd been sold that no one could draw the badger because the guy who drew the badger worked for the marketing company who used to own us. And now we're thinking, well, we could subcontract out the Badger. but that was kind of like stymied. And then I think someone decided we don't like the Badger anymore, because like this was just about the time of like Badger on the internet, which then became a bit of a kind of like, is this the LateRooms theme? No, it's not the LateRooms theme. So I think it was like things pushed it towards, get rid of the Badger quietly. So the Badger just quietly disappeared one day and was just. Yeah.
It's fun, yeah.
Which is great. I personally loved the Badger. I thought it was the best logo of any website I'd ever seen, just because it was just so crap. It was just like, you'd have a skiing Badger for winter deals. You'd have like a Badger with a suitcase. His little friend the owl. I'm not quite sure where the owl came from. Where the owls and badgers interact in the wild, particularly. But yeah, essentially this was. We had money. We spent more on licenses and machines than we spent in like the first 3 months of Mike being around than we spent in the entire IT department budget, including salaries, for the first 4 years of the company. So we were just like, whoa, awash with all these machines that we didn't know what to do with, because we were all PHP devs and we were all running like Postgres and .NET and.
He also brought in processes, which was alien.
Yeah, processes.
So he sent emails like, if you've got any dodgy software on your PCs, get rid of it.
So I then deleted the website off my PC, because obviously it was the dodgiest thing on
there. We turn around and go like, but we're hackers and dodgy software.
We're cool. We've got like freedom, like Mel Gibson. It's like, no, you've not got freedom anymore.
There was also some process in the fact that I think there was one point when you added a column to booking table, or one column to a table that had hundreds of thousands of rows, the whole site ground to a halt, and then shit, we spelled it wrong.
Just fix
that doesn't work. Alter table.
Undo the whole thing. Just rename that file back to what it was.
We didn't have a DB team at that point. We were all.
Yeah, we all just kind of.
It wasn't a DB. No DB team. No BI. No nothing. It was just a couple of devs, wasn't it?
Essentially, yes. And then Gavin, who put cables in machines and.
Yeah.
And try to build robots and those kind of things.
I'll just quickly add on to it. We have Jason, obviously, which was a big Jason Emerson. I don't know if any of you know him or heard of him. He played a big part in the architecture of what we did. He was originally the guy that Mike brought in.
Yeah,
the good one.
Yeah. And he was going to bring in, and then got Dave.
Yeah, unfortunately. Jason recently, I think if people who keep on top of Microsoft keynotes. The other day they launched obviously .NET, for it was the open sourcing .NET framework. Jason's product called OmniSource, which he started writing just at the end of his time here, which was about 3-4 years ago. Got featured in that as well. So OmniSource, which is for writing .NET. OmniSharp, sorry, got featured in that on a keynote. So the tweets went through the roof. Quite interesting actually if you want to have a look. He's doing some pretty cool stuff. But Jason brought in some cool stuff like we were the first to do
and changed his mind halfway through
and stuff like that 9+ years ago.
Keyword database.
Yeah, all sorts of things. We essentially changed platform. We spent when were we started? Probably 7 months rewriting the site into that. It was about 7, was it 6?
About 6. Yeah.
6 months. It was like a massive kind of like 2001 moment for a lot of us. We all touched the monolith of .NET and became enlightened. And then
launch day.
And then it got to a certain launch day was postponed by a week because it was going to be on the 13th of March. It ended up being the 20th of March, which luckily, in hindsight, that was a day that I'd arranged to get married on, so I couldn't attend launch day. Couldn't attend launch day, which turned from launch day into, was it launch weekend in the end? Launch week essentially. Wasn't this was 2005?
2006.
2006. I joined in 2005.
I joined in 2006.
The year I got married. Yeah. And I completely forgot what year it was. I got the date though.
So it was the winter of 2006.
It was March 2006.
Craig, you, and everyone just sleeping under their desks.
But this was a launch where didn't you put it to the live servers and realise that Mono didn't actually work in the live environment.
We couldn't afford Windows licenses, so we were running on Mono. And Mono's garbage collector just wasn't. Well, it wasn't.
And so in the kind of like the slightly kind of like warped spirit of let's just get on with it, I think someone probably Mike decided let's just rewrite it in one crazy weekend to work
Yeah, it was all
on the live server.
Because Mono had all the rewrite rules, you could build them in. Obviously, the rewrite rules on Mono meant that we had that's unwelcome to the rewrite module. There you go, that's where it came from. And that's pretty much what we did. So we rewrote the rewrite and a load of the code to work with Windows servers that we spun up and put 30-day trial licenses on and kept renewing the trial licenses just so we could get the website running. Because originally, when we first tried it on Mono, Gavin, Infrastructure, and Mark Harrigan, were just sitting there, literally just, again, kill minus that, kill. There were like 2 aliens out of Men in Black, just sat there doing that, just killing road processing left, right and centre, just to keep the website up. And I think we'd done it for 4 hours during the day, and then at some point we turned around and said, I don't think this is going to fail.
This is sustainable. We had to get more people typing in kill -9 processes, or we essentially there's a thing about we launched we basically commissioned a redesign, a graphic redesign of the site at the time. So this was just before Christmas, and we kind of like we got them all in, and they were kind of all shown around just after Christmas, and there were various ones like Danger Mouse fonts and all manner of stuff. And the one that eventually won was the one fairly similar to what we have now, but we kind of looked at it, and I sort of looked out the window and thought that purple's exactly the same as the travel in purple, and it looks a little bit like a Christmas card, and the slogan is directly out of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. so I was thinking, and I found out that this one was the one submitted last on the 23rd of December, and I got the impression it was just some guy who was sat there playing Grand Theft Auto, and someone thought, shit, that LateRooms commission. So he just quickly grabbed a Christmas card, found, getting the inside track on the competition, that'll do. Wrote it on, right, hotel, purple, there you go, and submitted it. And that's the one that we picked. It was just so we essentially had a purple Grand Theft Auto Christmas card as our redesign.
And a font that wasn't a web font.
And I thought there wasn't a web font. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. But they would say, no, this is the one we want. Make it work. Okay. So essentially, we grew a lot. We eventually expanded from one tiny office in the Diva Centre. We eventually rented next door. So we doubled our space. We then rented offices in their brewery tower because it was an old brewery. So we had 3 offices in the tower or 2 offices in the tower?
We had a floor in the tower.
And then eventually
unit 1 and 2.
Eventually, and then got the big prestige units once someone moved out, so we could move the call centre in. So, but we kind of realised.
I can't remember moving into that. When we went in to survey it and have a look, we're walking around and the old people moved out and it looks like some rats have moved.
Yeah, it was just like a bomb site. I thought it looked like our old server room back in Welsh Simmons, but
That was
in the middle of the room.
2007?
That was 2007, yeah.
Because I came for interview, and when I had the interview, it was in the tower, but when I started, like a month later, it was over in Unit 2.
So we essentially had space at that point, more space. We got sold again not long afterwards. The story goes that Steve Walsh, who was the founding partner, the Walsh of Walsh Simmons and Partners, who were the initial marketing company, was at some trade event, and someone just off the cuff asked him, "Do you think your company's worth, Steve?" Because he was still kind of like executive or like non-executive director and still owned quite a stake in the company. And Steve just went, I don't know, about 125 million quid. And a week later, that was in a massive kind of like press write-up saying, and LateRooms, worth 125 million quid, is looking for potential investors, which they weren't. And then it all kind of went a bit hush-hush again. And then 3 or 4 months later, we got sold to TUI. I'm not sure what the actual price was, but I'm sure it was in the region of probably 125 million quid. Yeah, so that was just from some off-the-cuff remark at a dinner, suddenly it's like Steve now has sold his first company for, got half of 20 million and manages to get a slice of 125 million as well, which some people have.
So we thought
got your pound.
I've got my pound.
Got your pound. Let it go.
It's a shiny, well, it's not a shiny pound, but I will polish it later on, I think.
So we'd just been bought my first choice when I started, and then
we
bought it, and there was a bit of a, what does that mean for us? We've only just been bought, and they've suddenly been bought.
left alone.
But it was all fine.
It's fine. So at that point, we realised we're going to move again. We're definitely going to need a bigger boat. So we moved here because it got to the stage where I think it was getting a bit daft when we had 5 offices with like a massive great car park in the middle, because people were using it as the excuse to not go to a meeting with the fact that it was raining.
Yeah.
And then I was saying, we can't go up there, it's raining, we're going to just stay over here. So it was all just a bit disjointed. And
From an affiliate point of view, a lot of the affiliates were out in kind of, you know, where you could rent offices out in Manchester anyway. So they were in like Regis offices just randomly in offices around Manchester. Yeah, there was a few of the people thrown into all the buildings, so we were all over Manchester just scrub around. And we're running cables between buildings to try and get connectivity.
Yeah. It
was still a different time though. I mean, if you remember on the ground floor in what was going to be the new call centre in Unit 2, after it had all been refurbished, a mysterious oil stain turned up on the carpet, which might have been where Dave and Rick decided to dismantle his motorbike one afternoon.
In the contract zone.
Yeah. Oh, there's a room, no one's using it. We'll just wheel the motorbike in.
Yeah.
You could think Dave's all like, you know, like Mr. Process these days. You know, it's like poacher turned gamekeeper.
Well, budget make it work.
So obviously, I think some of you have been here for quite a portion of. Actually, no, you've not in this room, have you? Obviously, moving here, we obviously became quite a much more serious company. We ended up having a CTO, which was a misadventure initially.
2 misadventures.
2 misadventures, but yeah, the initial misadventure was an expensive misadventure, which lumbered us with Telford and Xerox and got us into Prince 2 and Hybris, all those kind of things, which, you know, we'd be in this burgeoning kind of like agile development, you know, like software house, and suddenly we were like, no, you're like a bank now. Nothing gets to the live servers without 6 months of testing and being carved out in triplicate on marble tablets.
And no t-shirts.
Nothing
with a design on it, a print,
design,
logo.
You know, this was the thing. So there were ups, and then there were downs, and there were ups. Mostly the first CTO leaving was the main up. And then also kind of realising, what have you spent all this money on?
Yeah, and a few other people.
And a few other people who were which, and then we kind of obviously came through that a lot stronger actually after. I think that I kind of like I mentioned it in the write-up of I'm not sure if you read the 15th anniversary communications email that got sent out. I had a little bit on there linking to a page where basically the past, like since Stuart arriving and just so recently, it's felt the most like it has, you know, the most sort of similar to like the old days of being a startup, like in the past sort of 6-7 months or so. It's kind of like it's gone through this whole process of becoming more and more of a serious company, and then going possibly too far and like becoming essentially like a bank, like I say, and we seem to have kind of got through that, and we're coming back towards the more kind of like the roots of more kind of like enjoying your software development and being a bit more kind of free in what we do and exploring new ideas and like, you know, doing things in a way which suits our development process rather than suits the whole kind of like regulation process that a lot of the old-fashioned kind of like infrastructure types seem to like.
Yeah. I think last year for Stuart coming in and having that right representation at the board has actually been pretty cool. It's taking me back to how it used to be when we were running in the Demo Centre. You were talking to people directly, and you were lean. You talked exactly to the people you needed to talk to, and there wasn't too much process around that.
That's because it was sat next to you, Dave.
True, you could just shout it out and hold your desktop up and show them. But no, it's a lot better than it used to be. It's got, have you got some really
just as a quick one, just to go in the background,
cool.
These are the these are just some flavour photos. That was Craig dressed as a pirate. Not quite sure. Okay, that was Unit 9. This went a bit fast. Hang on a sec. Let me stop this. Hang on a minute. Escape. There we go. I'll do it as a. Hang on. I won't do a slideshow. I'll just run it. Hang on a sec. Oh no, I've got Craig full screen. How do I get the slideshow? And don't use the timings.
Actually, hear me, Craig.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Or you must have heard of the legend of Craig, the coke-based life form.
He's a legendary LateRooms employee.
Yeah, well, let's explain how we interviewed him. He's never been out of St Helens in his entire life. Never been to a city in his entire life outside of St Helens. He came for an interview and spent most of the time looking up, going, Oh my god! We came for an interview.
Yes,
we basically needed. We were developers. We didn't know anything about CSS or JavaScript really, and this guy did, and he proceeded to show us how he'd done CSS and JavaScript on effectively what was porn sites. That was his portfolio, which he's very happy to show you.
His own porn sites, essentially.
So we hired him because actually he went home at night and he pretty much developed most of the CSS and JavaScript for the website that night to show how he could do it. So we hired him the next day.
You have to bear in mind that Craig didn't actually sleep.
No.
He just lived on coke. Essentially, he'd drink like 10, 12 cans of coke a
Right on
day.
his own as a UI developer.
Yeah, well,
Part of the team.
And the other kind as well.
Didn't work as part of the team. But yeah, Craig was
yeah. As you can see, Craig was a personality.
yes.
He was on the whole thing of him never leaving St Helens. He was probably 24, 23.
Yeah.
He never had a strawberry.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like it.
Never had a strawberry.
It was hairy and
Yeah,
it didn't taste
so-
like strawberry
so,
milkshake.
Strawberry milkshake from McDonald's.
Yeah, so I
took a bit of it. No, I had a strawberry.
Yeah,
And
Hugo
he
was a
said,
bit
that
posh.
tastes nothing like
Yeah.
a strawberry milkshake.
Hugo was a bit posh, had some strawberries, and he said, "Craig, try one." So Craig kind of got the strawberry. It's got hairs on it. I was like, "No, Craig, no." I said, "I can't eat it. It's got hairs on it." So eventually, we kind of convinced him they were part of the strawberry. And then, you know, when someone kind of like tries to like bite something but not really bite it, so they can like try and like not like touch it but eat it at the same time. So he was like,
Like watching a kid eat.
and then he bit it. He went, oh, it doesn't taste anything like strawberry milkshake. That's not a strawberry. We was just put our head in our hands and said,
He
Craig,
just did things for
Craig,
himself.
how?
We introduced him
Did
to
he?
curry, so we had
Yes.
curry for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And then
2
obviously-
weeks, yeah.
And he couldn't come in because he couldn't get off the toilet.
Yeah, and like he had all these amazing
Lots of all
excuses
this
of like
stuff that you have
he
to
can't
work
live
with
with
random
this
people.
this psycho girlfriend he had, and like Mike got a phone call saying, I can't come in today, Mike, because the girlfriend's burnt all my clothes.
Yeah.
I was like, well, Craig, like, where are you? Oh no,
can
burnt
top
all my
that
clothes,
one. I can
and
top it.
I'm locked him in the bedroom.
No, I can top it.
He climbed out of the
I know which
window.
one you're going to say.
Go on.
You can't come into work because I bought a boat.
Yeah.
What do you mean you bought a boat? I bought a boat and I've got no money because I've spent all my money on buying a boat. I can't put any petrol in the car and come into work.
Yeah.
Where have you moored the boat? Somewhere.
You want to tell him what
I
happened
always
to the
wanted a
boat?
boat.
You want to tell him what happened to the boat?
He sold it, didn't he?
No, he
crashed it first.
First time he
Or he skunked it.
yeah,
Right.
he got this boat, bought the boat, went out to sea in the boat, and then realised he didn't know how to actually sail a boat. Crashed into
On a very
it.
similar one, he kind of like went to buy a car, so he drove to this place to buy the car, bought it, and then realised it was miles away from his house to 2 cars.
I thought you were going to tell the time that he phoned in and said he couldn't come in because he might have taken something.
It might have been what's that?
Anyway,
I bought some Viagra and now I can't come in because I've got to go to the doctors. Was that one?
Say no more.
Can we have a row about it, Craig? Sorry,
I sat
stories in the world.
next to Craig for about a month and a half, and I had to move because I was going home exhausted every night because he just wouldn't stop. He wouldn't stop talking. He kind of like lived in this musical production of his own life. He'd sing songs about what he'd done that morning. He'd sing about what he was doing, about what he was going to do, which are the ones which really scared me. And it was just like, I just said, look, Mike, I've got to go. I'm going home and just passing out. It's like, I've not got the energy for it. I'm an old man.
So this is the Diva Centre. This is the downstairs room. Upstairs was the contact centre, and that is the full width of the entire office. And this is taken from the back corner of the office, so very small.
Yes.
But actually, we look semi like we knew what we were doing.
Yeah. Apart from me, he was just got a
Jason-
daft haircut.
Jason here. Anyone who's interacting on feed will know that's Rob Reckless.
I do have an email address
Are you
for
still
any
name
any
the
hate mail
code?
you want to send in. We can pass it on.
Too far back.
Okay.
Yeah.
The legend doesn't live there. And obviously
The,
James, right
With his
there.
ponytail.
That ponytail, that little
Ponytail
ponytail there.
Yeah, the ponytail. No, it doesn't. Well, I promised myself at 13 that I was going to like have long hair, but not until. But I was going to get rid of it before I was 40, and I think I managed it by 3 weeks. It got to 40 in 3 weeks. Shit, get my hair cut. So yeah, bless me. That was the release weekend, wasn't
That
it?
was the release weekend.
That's Craig.
Try and read what it says on
It says it's a hastily scrawled suicide note that says advanced search buttons.
He's obsessed with buttons.
You know, there's like an empty packet of Pro Plus and the crushed can of Coke next to it.
He'd basically taken 2 boxes of Pro Plus in the space of about 2 hours.
Wow.
And washed it down with Coke.
And washed it down with loads of Coke in a gun green, and I think he was asleep under his desk for about 5 hours. I couldn't wake him up. It was touch and go whether we should call the ambulance.
Yeah, we just
or
like
not.
prodding him with the sticks and saying, is he still alive?
That was part of the weekend. On the other gun, I think if anyone has heard of Nick Southworth, who used to work here now, works at Inventive. Nick, when he left that long week of relief, where we didn't leave the office or didn't sleep, he got in his car and actually ended up somewhere up north because he couldn't figure out how to get home. And he was that tired, he just got in his car and didn't know how to get home.
Yeah, I was so glad I got married that weekend. So glad.
Yeah,
No other reason, obviously, but you know. That's Rick Hop. Well, there seems to be a theme, as you'll see later on, of people with variously patterned bags over their heads. It must have just been something we did
So that's when we
at that
expanded
point.
into Unit 1 and 2 in the Deep Centre, so we've got a nice upstairs area
Yeah.
for IT. It was
Just like massive aircraft hangar.
lovely. Yeah.
What have we there? That's Mr. Grant dressed as a
bugger.
Transformer, I think. That was what he
Yeah.
Good days,
There's no
Andrew.
photos of
Good
me
days.
because I actually have hair back then.
there might be a photo of you in a minute. That was obviously that same office. There's Rob Reckes again. You can chuck darts at the screen if you're over the XML feed. Dave's over in the corner, just hiding behind that plant. You can't really see him.
Oh yeah, Dave, he's
Wow.
sitting
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Just around the plant in the corner. I'm pointing, but obviously my finger's
You were one
not
of the
3 feet
devs,
long.
you weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Rob Pearson in the bottom corner, looking about 10 years old. We have Kieran Hewitson sat in front of me, who probably was about 10 years old at that point. That was Mike's son, who came for work experience and
Never left.
didn't really leave, to be honest.
Well, no, he came to stave up to go off to be a Mormon.
Oh, and
which
then-
required
and then-
lots of saving,
and then
after
realised that,
working
like,
for an
you know-
entire year at the company had saved the princely sum of £0.
Of £0, exactly. That's the other angle. That's the tiny fishbowl office that we used to be in. Mike's like one of Mike's favourite things was he played lots of computer games, and like obviously I played lots of them, and like he'd like to sit in there like with me talking about computer games. But he'd say, I'm going to look like I'm really telling you off now. So look like we're going to have this massive argument, but not really a massive argument. I'm going to point a lot, and you're going to point a lot back, and then storm out after about 10 minutes, and that'll really get them talking. And of course, I kind of played along with this because I'm that way inclined as well. Just, yeah.
Don't forget who's behind the plants.
Who's behind the plant there? Me.
Is that you?
Oh,
That's
you
me.
used to sit near me.
Yeah, I used to sit next to you, Cash.
Good days,
They were the
James.
days, weren't they, Cash?
I'm celebrity getting me out here, mate.
That's Leo. Yeah. He's in the back to us.
Cool.
What else we got there? Mr. Grant, Mr. EasyJet.
Yeah.
This was the glorious.
This was
EasyJet
not.
deal.
I did not pose for this willingly.
You look pretty willing to that for that one.
I stayed up the entirety of April making microsites happen for the EasyJet release. And someone heard about the microsites and won a contract with EasyJet without actually asking me how long it would take to actually make. So they'd already agreed that they were going to go live about 3 months before the time it was going to be ready. So I worked every weekend in April that year, and at the end of it all, I was given a whole load of EasyJet crap.
Because see how happy you are about that.
Worth
We
it.
never learned from that, did we? We did every contract like that.
But didn't get the EasyJet crowd.
That was also the famous meeting that I sat with you when Rob Reckles says, I'm not worried, I'm going on holiday, it'll be all done. And we said, great, you went on holiday, it went
There's none of it that
Went on the holiday, and Mike came to me and said, "So yeah, Rob says that that's nearly done." I was like, "What? No, no, not done at all."
It's about 240 hours of work.
So EasyJet have a general policy where it's an offsite. They have a good policy where they move around every 2 years, trying to find another supplier to run their website for them.
Was that sat behind
Generally what they
Snapchat?
do. We had it for 2 years. I think that's hotel beds for 2 years as well.
And we made
No idea.
bugger all money out of them because we gave them all a commission. It was all to do with brand awareness.
But of course, they agreed like minimum service contracts, didn't they? So like we had to supply them with a certain amount of hotels in certain locations, otherwise we paid them money.
Actually, it was
And
more
no one
than
checked that we had hotels in these locations.
It was slightly more than that because we'd also, of course, been scaling back the call centre because at that point they had an idea that they wanted to have the call centre be much smaller and only deal with like extreme sort of cases. And it wasn't 24/7. And then we won this contract with EasyJet, and part of the contract was that there would be a call centre available 24/7. So suddenly it was actually, you know how we've been slowly winding down call centre? Ramp it up!
This is side tune in what I believe is the Laterooms football kit.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah,
Which I'm sure Caps will try and relaunch at some point.
We used to have a five-a-side football thing going on, and then David Owen joined and grabbed some money from marketing. And got
What,
some
your football
kit.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's how we used to do charity days.
That's a kitchen.
I think they're better.
Oh my god, that is the
I
kitchen.
think they're better. This is also how we used to do charity days. Possibly not.
So you see some
Quite.
faces that are still here so soon, you recognise obviously from the affiliates.
Yeah, Tabs is still
Tab's
downstairs.
Yeah.
You can't really miss Tabs.
Ken, he looks young.
That's Levitating Cash. Lee Connolly. Lee Connolly and Ken, and I think that's Andy in the corner.
That is me,
there.
and there's Jonathan Scott.
Clifford looking young. John Scott.
That's one of the darkest hours of LateRooms history, that.
Oh yeah, penalty gate.
Can I just say, let's move on.
There we have there we have Dave looking all sprightly
With
with hair.
That was
This
well,
is
we
it.
should have won the five-a-side penalty shootout and got robbed because of some good-looking girls.
Yeah.
What ends up, and they just decided to give the trophy to the good-looking girls.
Sales cash.
Yeah, well, it was the two from before actually, so it's fair enough. Speaking of, wrong one.
That's Tom Shepard.
Oh, what about to do that?
Oh, you've been around Macintoshes too long.
No, I have. Speaking of penalty shootouts, this is Dave showing us how it's done. Possibly taking it maybe a little too seriously.
It's a guy from
In
Consensus.
that, given how far away he is,
Never.
and the run-up he's taken, and the way he's set the goalkeeper completely the wrong way, and then destroyed the goal. I think maybe that's like Dave saying, I used to play football, you know. That's Craig in a dress. That's all we need
This
to,
is a
that's all we need to
protest
say about that one. No one else.
wearing a dress?
Notice no one else has a dress on in that
the
photograph.
story behind
or
this
indeed
dress
in the room.
was he tried to wear some shorts and was told that men were not allowed to wear shorts of any description under the dress code. So in protest, he wore a skirt.
and heels and a wig.
So be aware if Phil Spiegel comes around with a new idea for a charity day.
Yeah, this is it. What else have we? There's continuing the theme of people with things over their heads. That's Tom, very proud of his new top, and that's at the back of Jason's head.
Jason, yeah.
And there's a close.
If you want to scare the shit out of the affiliates, that's what he did. He
And
ran into the other side of the building, the affiliate hills, with that zipped up, just roaring at him. They all scattered around, so if you want to scare the fuck out of them.
And there's me sat on Damien's knee. For those of you who don't know Damien was dev lead for what is now.
He was not operational OBS.
Yes, OBS. He basically, Gareth went. Floor 6 had a bit of a spate of poaching our staff, so Gareth popped down to talk to Mike, their IT manager, to stop poaching their staff, and ended up poaching him to come and work here. He then joined Damien's team and essentially trained Damien to do his old job, and Damien then moved down to floor 6 into Mike's old role. Which is just how we kind of roll and fit into the building. It's just like when people leave, you just ask how many floors down are you going. I believe that's we're about to Craig the Pirate again.
Let's not talk about Craig.
Enough of Parkway.
So essentially, hopefully that kind of gives you an impression of how much fun it was back then, but also how it was fairly uncertain. And you didn't know whether the final kill -9 on the server would actually crash the server and the website would die and then we'd have no jobs. And
I think I should do the spin on it.
The spin on it is.
There's uncertainty every day, but I guess we just have to carry on kind of making, instead of trying to plan for everything. Because if we'd have tried to plan as LateRooms years ago, we wouldn't have been where we are today. We had to make really quite dangerous decisions and risky ones. And I think even today when we're large, we should be making calculated decisions and risks and having a go and seeing if it works, because sometimes that's the only way you become bigger and better by taking risks. And so I think sometimes we can be a little bit too planned or want to be too planned and know everything in our world before we decide to make a change. I think
Yes.
if anything's to learn from what James has shown us and what he's been through, and still got his hair.
Still got my hair.
Frustrating.
Just.
It's take calculated risks, and that's the only way you're going to become bigger.
It's like Steve Walsh, who obviously has made like 30 million quid out of all this. His attitude to risk basically was I kind of want to win to him with something with kind of it was an email tool we wanted to launch on the site, and like I basically said, yeah, I'm not quite sure how it's going to behave. I'm not quite sure how people will use it or whether they'll like it, whether it's gonna put people off, whether the whole thing will crash. And Steve basically said, bear in mind this was his main kind of earning website. Just said, just stick it live. If it doesn't work, we'll just take it off again. It's just like, okay, fair enough. And it was just that kind of thing of like having that kind of like that courage to kind of like take a chance on things and say, well, it might be great, it might just not work. But we'll never know until we actually kind of try doing it. And it obviously kind of worked for him.
Yeah, we were the first company I think to plug in Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
It was great when you were at work and had a great connection. When you were at home, it didn't work. So then all of a sudden, I think if you see the pictures on the outside, on the other side that show the evolution of the brand, you'll see what appears to be like a world flash map. So we had to put flash maps up because obviously people couldn't render Google Maps because they were on dial-up modems that were pretty poor because the internet wasn't that mature yet. So yeah, we were the first to do quite a few things, but we took risks and gambles, and there we go. And
just as a final point, Gareth found some stats for me on commits to the code base. So if you find some .NET code you don't like, Dave's responsible for 6% of the commits in our code base.
How much?
6%.
6.
Yeah.
Right.
Clifford has the sort of highest like authorship coverage, so obviously blame Clifford for most of it. And Manuka's tried to slip under the radar by having 2 commit names, and he is probably equal with Dave for like culpability and blame for all the things that you don't like.
Thanks.
So just those 3 points of call.
Thanks very much.
It's all right.